And then the other Craigslist ad, single long-haired guy from Gurney looking for good time. I should have specified the gender, but you didn't seem to care either.
Yeah,
so.
you know.
It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
It is Car Con Carne, the world's only food podcast recorded in a car. Sitting shotgun this week, Jeremy Wagner from Broken Hope, a guitarist, a death metal titan, really. I consider you a titan in the death metal world.
Thank you. When I think of the word titan, think of someone who's big and formidable. I'm 5'3", and
it's all about swagger and what you've done. You're big and formidable in spirit.
When I've learned, James, and thank you for that, for the compliment. That means a lot. You know, I'd like to think that whether I'm Titanic for the legacy I have in death metal with Broken Hope, or things I've tried to do along the way, good things to to people, that kind of thing. I'll take Titanic or a pat on the back, whatever. But tell you what, I'm thrilled to be here on your podcast.
Sitting in the
car. Finally meet you, man.
Likewise, and you picked the place. So this is one of your favorites.
One of my favorites, absolutely. Tacos del Norte.
Which is Tacos of the North.
Tacos of the North. up in
up north,
Zurich.
yeah.
Up north in the northern burbs of all places. And it's one of my favorites. I'll tell you this. For so many decades, being a kid growing up in the burbs of Chicago, going down to the city for countless concerts. I'm talking, the Metro, the Vic Theater, the long gone Medusa's, which was a great club on Sheffield, Aragon Ballroom. You go to these concerts. I primarily, went to metal concerts and death metal grindcore concerts, and you get out of the venue, and it's 2 a.m. or whatever, and the best thing in the world that at least for me, I'm talking times where I got on my knees thanking the powers that be that these places were open, were hole-in-the-wall Mexican
They're the best.
They're the freaking best. Not fancy Mexican places. I went to a fancy Mexican place once, I'll never forget, up in Highland Park, and it was just too... The place was too polished. Everyone were wearing these really snappy outfits and uniforms, and the food, honest to God, for the pricing and being in a upscale neighborhood, if you want to call it that, just did not hold a candle to Tacos del Norte or any hole-in-the-wall Mexican restaurant that you eat at down in the city. And bringing you here, James, for me, is a treat for myself, as well as you, I hope.
Absolutely.
And Tacos del Norte carries on that tradition of those hole-in-the-wall, badass, authentic, totally great Mexican food. And you and I were talking about we could eat this every day.
Oh my God, I could do chips, salsa, and guacamole every day.
Yeah.
We walk into this place, I grab a menu without even a second passing by. You start rattling off exactly what you wanted. You're clearly a regular, no menu needed, and it's like a 5-page menu. But
none at all. I know exactly what I want. And
what'd you get?
I got, and a real quick side note, when I leave for this place, I don't know if you noticed because you were at my house, but when my family members get any glimmer that I'm coming here, their ears perk up.
Oh, I saw the
text. Then a text come in, tell me what they want me to bring home. So they love it. But what I got is my usual thing. I get 3 steak tacos with corn tortillas, no onions. I just can't do onions. Never was able to stomach the taste or the smell. Just one of those things. But I everything else is fine. I get extra cheese put on them, and you got to have for me at least, I got to have the corn tortillas.
The corn is more flavorful.
The thing, I'll tell you this, it's just a side note, and then I'll tell you about the rest of what I order. But I worked for years at a company in Lake Forest that had it was a skylight company, and their whole manufacturing part of the facility was all 100% Mexican. People from Durango and Chihuahua, Mexico, and who had family and ranches back home and worked up here in the northern burbs.
Wait, hold that thought. Please tell me there's a napkin in that bag. Or there's going to be trouble.
I don't know if there is.
Damn it. Hang on. Glove compartment. Here we go.
Oh, good call, dude. You got him. Oh,
I'm a parent.
yeah.
There are always napkins.
And I keep a stack. Every car I have, I keep napkins in.
You got it. All right, sorry.
That's okay.
I was having a taco emergency as you were talking.
Well, I got scared here for a second. I didn't know if I needed to call 911.
No, it's all good. Just a chorizo casualty.
Whew, good. I'm so relieved. Anyway, so those guys I worked with from Mexico, they taught me to speak Spanish. I can speak broken Spanish enough to get by. And I've dated a lot of Mexican women over the years who tried to teach me a little Spanish. And I'll tell you this, between whether it was ex-girlfriends who were Latina or coworkers I used to have, one thing is for certain. Mexico, I always told my Mexican friends and coworkers, I'm Mexican in my corazon, in my heart, because it's true. They call me güerito, little white boy, or güero, white boy, or Jeremias, which is like the Spanish version of Jeremy. The J is silent in Spanish, so those are all terms of endearment. Anyway, I love Mexico, the country. I love the Mexican people, and goddamn, they make the best food in the world. And my whole point of all this, and I warned you, James, I've got the gift of gab. I could go off on a subject and not.
Yeah, fair warning. I will interrupt you at some point.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Thank you. That's. I'm glad you're steering the ship properly. While
it's a Mazda.
Have verbal diarrhea here. But all I wanted to say is those guys I worked with would always bring killer Mexican food to work that their wives and significant others or themselves would make at home, put in Tupperware containers, and then they would bring a stack of El Milagro tortillas.
Those are the best.
And that got me hooked, dude. It was like, if you can be addicted to a food like you would a drug, Mexican food's definitely an addiction of mine. And the corn tortillas, dude, that's what... I'm just saying, you got to have it, man. It's more authentic. They're tastier. So, steak tacos, no onions, all vegetables, extra cheese on corn tortillas. And then, what I always do is I get what I call a backup burrito. And I get a steak burrito with no vegetables. Just, steak, cheese, and refried beans.
Just in case?
And I put it in the fridge. And then I get up late at night, like Dagwood. Well, I don't know what their ages are, but if you ever saw Blondie, now
it's a little old school. Yeah.
Now I saw right, Dagwood cartoon character would go down and make giant sandwiches and midnight snacks and all that stuff. And
that reference predates heavy metal by like 30 years.
It does, That's what the backup burrito is for, though.
See, that's a different version.
Later.
When I go to hot dog joints, I get a snack hot dog. And it's not for later, but it's for the trip home. Because hot dogs, you can't eat just one hot dog. That's not filling. That's not a meal. I get a snack hot dog.
Right.
I want to talk about Broken Hope. There's so much to talk about with you. But first, I was kind of telling you this earlier. I work with the nicest guy in the world. His name is Chris. And I mentioned that I was going to be podcasting with you. And,
hi, Chris.
Well, he was so excited. He brought in some vinyl to have me give to you to sign. And I thought, I didn't think that would be inappropriate, so
Not at all.
I made every attempt to do
I'll
it.
sign anything.
I'm in the middle of this week where I'm working really weird hours. I'm getting like 3 hours of sleep, waking up at 3 in the morning. I completely forgot his vinyl at work, and I feel terrible. I thought it would be nice if we called him.
Let's do it.
And I've never really done a live phoner in the car.
Really?
So
this is a first for real?
Yeah, we've played
fun.
around with it
All
before.
right, cool,
but
man.
Let's see
This
how
will
this
be
works.
great.
I'm going to call Chris. We're
Okay.
We're going to Bluetooth this.
Hello?
Hey, Chris, it's James.
Hey, what's going on?
Not to put you on the spot, but I'm here with Jeremy Wagner.
Hi, bud.
Oh,
Hi, Chris.
hey. How are you? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I felt terrible. I
doing
felt
well.
terrible, dude. I didn't bring the vinyl with, and I felt like I should at least make some connection between you and Jeremy. I felt terrible that I left your vinyl at work, so I wanted you to at least have the chance to say hi to him.
Yeah, no, very cool. Hi, Jeremy. Nice to meet you in
Nice.
the most indirect possible way while I'm waiting for the bus. But,
And
love
what-
your band.
and
Glad you guys are back.
likewise, man. I will send some Broken Hope goodies back with James for you as well.
Oh, you're kidding.
And
Oh,
no,
that's awesome.
no, I'm not. And James, I just told James I'll sign anything, and I actually signed James's chest. He says he's going to get my signature tattooed.
Yeah, there was a
on
lot
his
of hair to
chest.
get through, but he
He
did
said
it.
he's a bigger fan than you, so I said, okay, that'll prove it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll hopefully run into you one of these days and can sign that vinyl for you and whatnot. Do you
Yeah,
have
for sure.
what? Can you tell me what vinyl you have from our discography?
I got Vowels.
Oh yeah, you know that's one of my personal favorite records that we have of ours, and that album is like just ferocious. I remember
Yeah.
when I wrote that album, our first album had come out the year and a half before. We got signed to Metal Blade Records. They re-released that first album, and we were gonna put out Balls of Repugnance. But our old guitar player Brian Griffin, who is actually Lamb of God's tour manager now, he's been with those guys
no
for
kidding.
years. Yeah, he's doing great in his music business career. He's still touring. It's just with Lamb of God. He does their sound too. He's one of the best soundmen I've ever heard. So he does all that. But Brian Griffin and I, back in the early '90s, lived together in an attic apartment of a 3-level house. And back then, I didn't have a pot to piss in, as they say. And actually, I gave James a copy of our documentary DVD, 25 Years of Sickness, The History of Broken Hope. And you'll see that, James. What I'm telling Chris here is what when we get to the Bowels of Repugnance there on that DVD, basically I was piss poor. I ate mac and cheese every day. In fact, I couldn't even afford Kraft brand mac and cheese. It was too expensive. I bought
You had to
Food
go generic.
Club. Yeah. And that's true. And I was poor. I was hungry. I always had girlfriend problems, and all that made me. Oh, and I also had a point to prove after coming off our debut album that Broken Hope
Yeah.
had something to prove, and we weren't going away. So I was all pissed off, and I wrote song after song after song in that attic apartment. Plus, by the way, what made me even angrier and benefited the music intensity had no AC in the summer. And heat rises, and it was like
Well, in Chicago in the
and I-
summer,
And
forget
I
it.
remember sitting in the
That
kitchen of
sounds
that like. This is James. What model is this? This is a
It's
Mazda.
a Mazda 3.
This Mazda 3 is about the size of the apartment I lived in.
I bet.
And I sat on a stool, broiling hot, pissed off,
By the way, I think
and I just wrote like that whole album.
Jeremy, isn't Sat on a
nonstop.
Stool a Broken Hope song?
No, but I'm writing lyrics for
There you go.
our next full-length album.
I don't want to tell you what to do for the next album, but
I'm right. Can I? God damn it! Now I gotta give you writing credit, which I don't mind. You can sat on a stool.
Yeah.
I Broken Hope. I could see that going out to you when we finally play it live.
or
So.
hey, Broken Hope would be more like shattered my sphincter on a stool,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Right.
torn stool tearing
stool-
sphincter.
Stool impalement.
That's it.
Something like that.
I love
Yeah.
ghostwriting for you. Chris, I know you're getting on the bus. I wanted you to be able to say hi to Jeremy.
Yeah, no, that's awesome,
Hey,
man. I might leave you guys in a second here, so it's very nice meeting you.
Hey,
Very
Chris, yeah, nice
to
meeting you, Chris. And I'll send some Broken Hope goodies with James. I told James anyone that buys Broken Hope stuff is always family to me. So we've got a whopping 10,000 family members out there or something. So you're one of them. So it's an honor
Awesome. Thank you
to
so much.
speak to you as well. So thanks, man.
Talk to you later, Chris.
Awesome.
Bye.
All right, have
That was really nice of you, Jeremy.
Oh yeah,
And
my
that guy,
pleasure.
Chris, truly like one of the nicest guys I know. Which brings me to my next point. Metal
sir.
people. I mean, I was joking around about lyrics and song titles. And
Yeah.
there's everything brutal about Broken Hope. The sound, the lyrics, but behind it all, the people who like metal, the people who create metal, are kind of pussycats. Like
Yeah.
my friend Chris, hardcore. He's all about doom and death. You are this death metal ruler, and you're just a decent guy.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So I think it shatters what people's expectations might be.
I've got. I always try to wear my heart on my sleeve. I try to do the right thing in life. I try to be good to others. My grandpa Wagner, when I was a little boy, he taught me early on, you be a gentleman, you open doors for ladies. Be good to others. I was raised that way, and
That's solid
I
advice.
like being, I like being a nice guy. I think this is Glenn Benton at Deicide, or someone. Glenn's a good friend of mine. I think it was him. If I'm mistaken, it doesn't matter. Bottom line is, it was him or someone else in some other band dubbed me the nicest guy in death metal like a few years ago, and you know what?
You'll take it.
Because the world's full of a lot of assholes, a lot of selfish people. I like to operate the other way. I like to try to be good. There's ex-band members, I'm sure, would argue that point that, have a hard-on for me, if I can say that on your blog. But I've been nothing but generous and nice to pretty much everyone I've ever met, and that's how I like to be. And my wife, she's got to be one of the most generous people I know. We, together or separately, we donate money to no-kill animal shelters.
Well, let's stop there.
Oh,
Because last year you made headlines for donating a farm to pet rescue. Like a farm. Was it? I guess walk me through that. You owned a farm. I'm guessing it was a lot to maintain.
What happened was, when I used to work a day job, and this before I got married, and I was doing really good on my own by myself. I had a corporate job at a Fortune 500 company. I had a lot of really good stock. I also owned 3 houses that I acquired on my own, and I became a landlord, which you gotta be cut out to be a landlord. I wouldn't advise it to anyone if you can't. I hated it, but I'm working this corporate gig. I got a great salary, great investments. I have these houses, and then I sold my debut novel to a publisher, the Armageddon Chord, and right after that, I was able to quit my job, and I had met my wife around that same time.
You mean you had the American dream come true?
Pretty much, right. So what I did, James, was I started seeing my wife, who at the time was my girlfriend and then fiancée, and I sold everything. I sold all my houses. Cashed in like a bunch of stock and whatnot, and put my money away. And then I got married and moved to another part of the burbs up here, and have been living happily ever after. But last year, this is going on. Let me think.
I like how
Summer of 2014.
I like how you asked me if you can say hard on, but shit's not a problem for you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. See, I forget what I... All right. Jeez. Man. Put my foot in my mouth on that one.
It's all good. Foot broken off in mouth on the new Broken Hope.
Foot chewed off in Mazda.
That's right.
Mexican food ran out. That's the backstory of the lyrics. I'm already working on that.
Good work.
Van Osdol Taco. You know what? That sounds a little kinky. Why? Why?
Yeah, the Van Osdol. That's my signature.
That means two things.
That's my signature move.
Oh God, man. Shit. Oh, I'm dying over here. All right. What was I saying? Okay.
We're talking about the farm.
Sorry, bro. Hilarious. I got this farm in 2014 because I'm still into what I call my boy things I like to do. I like riding dirt bikes. I like going to the shooting range and shooting my guns, and I love animals. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna buy a farm with a bunch of land so I can tear it all up with my dirt bikes and have my friends ride with me on their dirt bikes or four-wheelers. I can make a shooting range and shoot my guns without paying to go to a shooting range.
Yeah.
And I can have, animals I want to have. At my house, you've been there, I've got 2 dogs, and those dogs...
I love your dogs.
Thank you. My dogs love people, but they also love to kill small animals. And I gotta be honest, I'm a cat guy. I'm not a dog person.
Wait, did you marry into the dogs?
I married into the dogs.
Okay.
A wife who already had 2 children who are now my stepkids. Those dogs are their family.
Mm-hmm.
So I had cats. The woman how I met her, she adopted my cat. She's an awesome person, and she's a really good friend of my wife's and mine now. She's the woman I donated the farm to. I never forgot how she helped me with my cats. She took them and adopted them from me, and she was an animal rescuer. And I put an ad in Craigslist years ago around 2009 when I was moving in with my wife.
No, that wasn't the ad I answered, was it?
Yeah.
I answered that one Craigslist ad.
Yeah. I said, free pussy to good home, and I had Van Osdol blowing up my phone nonstop.
That's right.
Van Osdol from Q101?
Yeah, that's right.
No, sir. No, that's not what the ad intended. No. You've called 100 times,
Dude,
James.
I have worked for years to get rid of that surname. For so long, it's been James from Q101.
Yeah.
Van Osdol worked for so long to get
But
rid of that
I was
last
using
name.
it in context with the year you were calling me
Indeed.
on my Craigslist
Okay,
ad.
fair enough.
And then the other Craigslist ad, single long-haired guy from Gurney looking for good time. I should have specified the gender, but you didn't seem to care either.
Yeah,
so. But anyway,
it was an experimental
I don't mean
phase.
to keep that tag on you. I just want to make sure I'm clear. It was in context with
James from
the year.
Q101.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to call you James from the Mazda.
That's right. Want to be
Yeah.
I guess there are worse things than being identified
Or
with your
carne
car.
asada, So, anyway, that woman who adopted my cats, because I couldn't bring them with me, wonderful woman. We kept in contact for years, and then she became good friends with my wife. My wife was helping her out by donating money to her dog rescue, which she does full time, and that's no easy gig, man.
I can't imagine.
That's like being one of these what do you call those people up in New Hampshire who make these voting things like for Jeb Bush and shit. They work for nothing. They're going door to door and trying to spread the word. It's
I don't know.
a thankless job. It's you know what I mean. But that's what this woman does. Basically, rescuing dogs is a thankless job because it's like all your free time's dedicated to it. There's no money to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Everything goes into saving the animals, rehabbing them, and getting them into good homes. And so, if there's a heaven, someone like this good friend of ours, she'll be a friggin' saint when her time comes. But anyway, I had this farm. It was for all my shits and giggles, I sound like a redneck, but
No,
I
just
wanted
because
cats too, though.
Wait, because of the dirt bikes and the guns?
The
Why do you sound
dirt
like a
bikes,
redneck?
guns, chewing tobacco,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Right. The Confederate flag that I had
right.
painted on the silo.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, I wanted to have cats, man. I wanted farm cats. And I wanted a cow, and I wanted that there were some cows that we're trying to get our hands on that were going to be killed, and there were some old horses that were, the term put out the pasture. They were literally
legit.
in a pasture,
Yeah.
and they were going to be killed, and we were trying to get those. So I wanted a bunch of different animals, pygmy goats and shit. I wanted to have Wagner's farm with animals I loved and fun to be had, and getting out of my house and blowing off steam. And this woman who adopted my cats all those years ago, who had this marvelous dog rescue that we donated money to, becomes a better friend than my wife and I. And I'm like, you know what? You want to live on a farm for free? I just want you to manage the property because I don't live there, and there's a farmhouse, and
That's
awesome. And you can do your dog rescue there. You got 2 goddamn barns. You can make kennels, and so we had kennels made. She was off and running, and unfortunately, January 2015, I'm out in California, and I get a call that the farmhouse is on fire.
No.
And I was out of my mind.
I bet.
I'm honest. What happened was there was some electrical issue. The farmhouse burnt to the ground.
Jesus.
Some dogs died in the fire. Some cats died. Broke all our hearts. There were a couple dogs with smoke inhalation, and thank God we got them saved. We got them rushed to an emergency vet. And thank God the woman at the farm didn't die or anything,
That's really
so
scary.
animals died. That's horrible. Humans didn't die, but I pretty much love animals more than a lot of humans. So it's hard, and it was really hard on that poor gal living out there. So after I got back, surveyed the damage, and took a step back, I thought of a number of things. One, I hadn't been able to spend a lot of time out on the farm because I was touring a lot with Broken Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Family trips, personal matters. So that recreational farmland, it was an hour drive to get there, 2 hours round trip. I wasn't spending a lot of time out there. Not only that, there's some neighbors out there in the country. One thing I wanted was to kind of also have a place that was off the grid. I didn't want anyone bugging.
Oh, I get that.
But let me tell you something, brother. You could live in an isolated area and have neighbors miles down the road. These people go out of their way to stick their nose in your business. I had people pulling up. I'm so and so down the road, and I kept getting the woman that was living there, taking care of the place, would tell me horror stories. People trespassing and all kinds of shit. And then when the house burnt down, this one neighbor wrote this who is a self-proclaimed blogger and a self-published author. Said all these horrible things about me, and they had pictures of my burnt down farmhouse in her blog saying, yeah, this guy this rock star who bought this farm, his farmhouse burnt down, and he's been a nuisance since he bought this place, and then she's like, and he drives a Tesla. So what does that tell you? It's like, really? What it tells you is I care about the environment. I drive an electric car, you crazy bitch. So anyway, that was an ongoing problem, and then so between those neighbors and the farmhouse burning down and not spending a lot of time out there, all that combined, James, just took the wind out of my sails.
I'm sure it did.
So I just decided I'm going to donate the farm to this woman with the agreement and promise we're going to, she's going to carry on the mission statement to make it an oasis for animals in need of all types. If there's a squirrel or a raccoon that got clipped by a car and needs rehabbing on the farm, they have a home now. If there's an old cow or horse someone has that and they're going to put a bullet in its head, we'll take it off their hands and give them a home that they can enjoy and be loved for the rest of their life.
I love it.
Pit bulls, indeed, all over the Chicago metropolitan area, there's a bunch of buildings, land, kennels. They got a place to go. That was the mission outside all that fun I had. Like I told you, bud, that woman was going to live there, manage the place. I was going to have all the animals I ever wanted. The cow, the cats,
right.
the pygmy goats, for fun. My little petting zoo, and then I could leave and she would feed the animals and get their vet shots and everything. So still wanted a place for the animals. Wanted to give her something that she could have, a piece of property for all that saintly work that she's doing. And I donated the farm. I paid the taxes on the place for 2 years in advance as well. What happened after that was all I did was a Facebook post, and I just gave the biggest donation of my life. And when I say the biggest, I've donated personal money for people in need who have medical
need to qualify.
I know, but I'm just saying, whether it's a GoFundMe thing a friend had to make their own album, or to help someone with medical bills, or put a kid through school, I've done generous things. I'm happy to. This was a big deal, because what I paid for that property out of my own personal savings, I'm not Bill Gates, which some people think I am. I am not super filthy rich, but I'm doing fine in life, and you know what? I could spare that farm, and everything I paid for it and put into it was one massive great deed for the animals first and foremost.
It made you
and
feel
for
good.
this woman, yeah. And so that I posted, I made the biggest donation of my life. I gave away my farm that I was so proud of, because if anyone followed me on Facebook, they'd see pictures of me out at the farm here and there and all this great stuff we were doing and fun I was having. I gave that farm away. It's for the animals. Now this place will be a safe haven and a place to help all creatures great and small. So all of a sudden that started going viral. People started reposting it. Then I was approached by the Examiner to do an interview, and I was in Europe on tour, and I said, I knew something was going on that was going viral, because the place burnt down, and I donated it a couple months after, and right after I donated, I went to Europe on tour. And two things happened, James. One, I was approached by the Examiner to do an interview. Two, every show we did in 10 different countries on that European tour, every night someone from a different country would come up to me, sometimes bring me a gift, a bottle of wine, or a goddamn Hallmark type of card, written in, French or Spanish, whatever language, Italian, whatever we were touring. Then I'd be like, what's this for? And they go, you saved the animals. We love you, Jeremy. You saved... And I was like, what the fuck's going on?
That's
I go, and it was...
That's something all of us humans can agree on.
Yeah.
Doing right by animals.
yeah.
We suck at
And-
taking care of each other, but we can all agree that animals should be taken care
Yeah.
of.
I had we did a festival in the Netherlands called Neurotic Death Fest for like 10,000 people, and a girl came up to me. You're Jeremy Wagner. You're Jeremy Wagner. And this is already after a week of people every night saying thank you for what you did for the animals. Now I'm thinking, for sure, this woman is a huge Broken Hope fan.
Yep.
She's going, you're Jeremy Wagner. You're Jeremy Wagner. Great, like your buddy Chris. Maybe she's got a vinyl, stuck down her back pocket. I'm gonna sign. No, she's like, it's a pleasure to meet you. What you did for those animals and donating that farm is the most awesome gift and act of generosity, and it brings tears to my eyes just talking about it. And she starts crying. And I said, wow, thanks. It was an honor to do it. It makes my heart feel good. And every person like you thanking me makes me swoon and makes me even happier that I did it. I'm like, I really appreciate it. She goes, oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. And then she just adds, I never heard of you or Broken Hope before. And I saw you. I'm not really into your music. But what you did, so it was like, that was great, because here I thought it was a super fan. What was awesome is she brought me right down to earth. Doesn't really care for the band. Never had actually heard of Broken Hope before. But she was at a death metal fest. You think if you're at a death metal fest, you would hope you heard of Broken Hope. But evidently this chick didn't, but she did hear me and what I did by donating the farm. And screw the music side of shit. I don't care. That's what's important. Doing good in this lifetime is important to me. And to have someone like that not give a shit about the Jeremy Wagner Broken Hope, which is totally cool with me. Doesn't matter. The fact that she knew I did something in the name of, animal saving and whatnot. That I don't know. That's just something I'll never forget. And the many others. So I did the Examiner thing. That came out, and then it went viral again. And James' story's gone viral like 5 times. So I don't know how many millions of people have read it, but the amount of love and email, I mean, it just never stops every week. And that you're talking, that was, first quarter 2015 I donated that, and so it's been over a year, and it's still, people are still talking about that.
It's a great story. It's a great situation.
Yeah,
I think that's fabulous. I do want to focus a little bit on the band, since you're here. How's the taco, by the way?
Well,
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
is there? No, it's fine. When you asked the question, I just took a bite of this taco.
Of course, that's the way it works.
If your listeners can't tell, and I was just when you asked the question, I'm not effing kidding. I'm like, this is like if your mouth could have an orgasm, this goddamn steak taco.
I had 2 steak tacos.
That.
They were really good, and the chorizo taco was great. I am wearing.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
It's that fucking good.
I'm covered in like diced tomatoes and onions. They're all on the floor. This is going to be a good week to get the interiors washed in my car.
With all your blogs, by the way, before we talk about the band, I noticed on your Instagram you frequent a lot of Mexican restaurants.
Sure.
At least that was my first impression. And between the tacos, whatever other Mexican food you get, you told me you had a 16-inch pizza on your dashboard recently in an interview. When you wake up in the morning, fire up the old Van Osdo mobile and hop in, does it smell like a restaurant?
Oh, yeah, it does.
Does it?
Oh, yeah, my kids like to try and identify what I had the night before.
That's fun. That's cool.
It smells like barbecue in here. It smells a little porky. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. All right, so Broken Hope, the fact that this is something you started when you were a kid, really a kid, it is still working today. There was a hiatus.
Yep.
Personnel has changed.
Yep.
You weathered tragedy in the band.
Yes.
Can you,
Yes.
looking back,
yeah.
looking back to the beginning, just a kid trying to carve a path for himself, master the guitar, could you have imagined that this would be your calling, your final destination in adulthood?
I've seen. Well, I'm going to put it to you a couple ways. That I've seen people ask, like John Tardy, the singer of Obituary, who's a little older than me, because we toured with Obituary, and we shared a tour bus. This was in 2012. And I remember an interviewer asking him, because I was sitting across from him on the tour bus, did you ever imagine seeing yourself doing Obituary at this stage in life, 2012? And John Tardy said, absolutely not. The opposite goes for me. When I was a teenager, James, I was so driven and focused to make a band, a death metal band, that would do something.
And this was late 80s.
And yeah, we formed in 1988 in high school. I formed the band with our original singer Joe Thiacek and our original drummer Ryan Stanek, both of whom unfortunately have passed away. Ryan just passed away last year. So I'm like the original founding father of the three of us. But even back then, James, the thing was, when I was in high school back then, up here in the northern Chicago burbs, and I went to school in Gurnee, so between Gurnee, Libertyville, there are all these local bands, Waukegan too, and all of them played cover songs.
Yeah.
And I was like the only person in, a 10-mile radius that listened to death metal and underground death metal, and I would play, try to turn people on at school, and these guys in cover bands who thought they were always hot shit because they'd play the American Legion Hall and draw like a couple hundred of, their friends and family and thought they were hot shit, playing Warrant covers and whatnot, would always tell me I sucked. Your music sucks. You'll never do anything with that music. What kind of vocals are those? Joe and Ryan were the only guys within a 10-mile radius who got it and were into that. We came from a school of thrash that was like Dark Angel, old Metallica, Venom, Slayer, and then, death metal started coming out. You'd hear for Celtic Frost, you'd get then the band Death, and then Obituary, of course. And
But was Venom kind of the Rosetta Stone for all that?
yeah, I think more so for black metal, but
sure.
There's a Rosetta Stone for extreme music, I would say. Venom, Slayer for sure. When I look at a band like Slayer, Hell Awaits, and Rain and Blood, which 85, 86, or whatever, that if you listen to those goddamn riffs, if they had, someone like, Joe Thiacek doing the vocals at the time, that would have been a death metal band. They're considered one of the big four thrash metal bands, but they were so fucking fast and so intense and had some of the heaviest riffs you'd ever hear. God, I always liken them to being like just a hair away from death metal, So
You're right. The difference is the vocals.
Right.
Well, not to sidetrack you too much,
sure.
Let's talk about death metal vocals. Because it is, for people who are unfamiliar with death metal, death metal vocals are frightening.
Yes.
And it takes a special kind of vocalist to get that out.
It does. It can quit, to the layman on the street, to most people's moms and dads, or people who just don't know that style, they quickly dismiss it. You'll hear, Cookie Monster vocals is like the one tag that's out there that
too easy,
that makes
too
you
reductive.
cringe.
Yep.
Kind of like, I'm James from Q101.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. See, glad you got a sense of humor. They don't understand that death metal vocal style is a real art. It's a guttural, delivery.
It's primal.
And it's primal, and you have to, death metal vocals, like any real great metal vocalist is dependent on diaphragm, abs, a healthy throat, all that stuff, and it's a real instrument. Joe Fiacek, our late great singer, he would call himself Esophagus. So there'd be, Brian Griffin, lead guitar, Ryan Stanek, drums, Jeremy Wagner, rhythm guitars, Joe Fiacek, Esophagus.
That's about right. Yeah.
And there's places in the world, like I told you, we did that first ever live concert DVD, Live Disease, and we played to 25,000 people. That's like playing, Tinley Park here in Chicago,
right?
Or Alpine Valley.
Massive.
That's a dream come true for me. I never would imagine, because most of the time in Broken Hope Land, I'll honestly, we're lucky to draw 200 people a night in most clubs, headlining or anything like that.
Well, I gotta think the 1990s were tough for death metal in general in the States.
They were. It's always, I don't know. It's like up and down, man. It depends on the tour and what's going on. I think right now death metal is more popular than it's ever been. The 90s, were kind of hard on metal as a whole, as you know. I mean, everyone blames Nirvana for that. I think Nirvana were heavy as fuck, actually. That Nevermind album has some great friggin' riffs that, like, I could play through my guitar tone, my rig and stuff, and they're just slamming.
Well, there's nothing on Bleach that's terribly radio friendly.
Yeah, right. Another great one. So, with that sound you hear, folks, is me eating a tortilla chip.
It's all part of the show, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Just people would be disappointed if they didn't hear you eat.
There was so there was a time where it was definitely rough. In fact, when we did our fifth album, Grotesque Blessings, that was like the worst U.S. tour we'd ever done. It was horrible draw, horribly booked, massive personnel changes, and I had a bunch of hired guns. Even Joe Fiacek, after we recorded that album, quit right before we were going to tour. He just said, "You know what? I'm retiring," or whatever. So we I'm choking on the air here. James is doing nothing to help me, so
no, I'm
pounding my chest like Chris Farley at Saturday Night Live.
I'm enjoying my horchata, which is delicious. It's like drinking rice pudding.
Rice pudding in liquid form. Real liquid form. So, 90s were rough, and that close of that decade, 2000s when I did around 2002 is when I put the band on hiatus. But anyway,
hang on, let's drop anchor there. Why?
Because I had a bunch of hired guns in the band that weren't real good musicians. And one or two weren't really up to par musicianship wise, and I got nothing but attitude. Like, people wanted, felt entitlement, like, I should be making this. Like, later, like, as a tour is going on, I really should be making this now. And just nightmare situations, man. God, shit I wouldn't wish on anyone. Shit that makes, like, all the failures in the movie Spinal Tap look like huge victories. Like, Christ, man, I'm telling you, like, I've seen it all, dude. You talk about paying dues. It's like, I felt, maybe you pay your dues first couple albums and things would get easier. But that album number 5, man, that was what a pain in my ass. So it's weird because people, fans, there's so many fans that love that freaking album, and it was our most technical album, and it was a weird time in my life, so I'm not because there's just so much negative shit with personnel changes, trying to keep the ship afloat, and and I don't know, man, it was just a weird period. So I was like, I'm walking away from this.
You
right
needed
now.
to do a
and
reset.
And that was hard because I never envisioned you talk about me, how far I thought I'd go or what I would do. I was always one that would never say I'm going to be too old to do this sometime and hang it up. Bullshit. I have said in interviews I want to be the Keith Richards of death metal. What that means is not Keith Richards' drug habits for the rest of my life. I want to be on top, or at least still, no matter what, at the end of the day, doing what I love, which is writing the heaviest music that I can, being a death metal guitarist, writing death metal lyrics, and having this band, Broken Hope, still going. I don't care if I'm in my 70s. I'm going to tell you this real quick. Buddy Guy is 70 years old. He released an album this past year called Born to Play Guitar. The title resonates with me. I think I was born to play guitar and also write horror novels and shit too. But he's 70, and I'm telling you, no bullshit, that album kicks ass. He's shredding. His riffs are amazing. His lyrics and vocals, that's inspiration to me, James. I'll be 46 this year. He's 70. I aspire to be like Buddy Guy when I'm 70.
Dude, have
writing the best fucking album I've ever written at that age, because he's done it. I get inspired by people way older than me. I don't ever look at a musician who's up there and talk shit about him like, oh, the Rolling Stones should be on walkers and shit like that. I look at him and go, look at these guys still kicking ass, passionate about their music and instruments, and that's where I see myself. So
I love it.
Again, that 17-year-old that started the band, he's inside me. He's inside me too as a metal fan. If I see my favorite bands, Napalm Death, if I see Metallica live and hang out with Kirk Hammett like I just did, I don't always get starstruck, but I am a fan, and I still get excited, and I still just love doing what I do, listening to bands I love, and all that stuff. None of this stuff gets old, man. And I think on that note, I've said this before in interviews, and it might sound corny, but goddamn, dude, I swear, music, no matter what the genre, if you're a musician or a fan, and you'll still like going to live shows, and you get off on music, and it brings you joy in your life, I swear to God, music as a whole, as a fan or a musician or both together, is some type of fountain of youth, Well,
I was going to say, speaking of Buddy Guy, if you've seen him play at all, ever really, but I saw him maybe a year or two ago, he does have that fountain of youth. You see him on stage.
Yes.
And all I could think is, oh my God, I hope to have half that energy, half that style, half that swagger when I'm his age.
Right.
Because he's still, my God.
His lyrics on the new album are phenomenal.
He's
dude.
the best.
He's talking. There's a song he does with one of the guys from ZZ Top. I think it's Billy Gibbons.
Yeah.
It's called "Wear You Out" or "I'm Gonna Wear You Out." And it starts off about how he had a Stratocaster, and everyone said, thing's unbreakable, and he wore out that guitar, and then had a '55 Eldorado, and I drove it till the wheels and axles fell off, drove it into the ground. And then I was with some chick who, thought, she'd wear me out in bed, and she was, he already had the chick happy and satisfied within 1 minute. He hadn't even hit his stride yet.
Love the blues.
Dude, they're so goddamn. Those lyrics, I love them, dude. I'm like, and again, it's Buddy Guy at 70. Writing shit like he's 20 years old, man.
Exactly.
So the whole point of all that is that's an inspiration to me. You follow me?
I'm totally
You know?
following you. I mean,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm wrestling.
Oh,
Jeremy.
no, that's okay.
I need more duct tape. I had an accident
Oh, I
here
see.
with the mic stand about a month or two ago, and the duct tape appears to be failing. But I think we'll make it through the interview. This is not exactly a high tech studio.
Yeah.
You kind of make do with what you got.
Dude, you can do anything nowadays. You can have a studio anywhere. And what you have here, brother, it's doing the trick, man. It's
Thanks.
great. Yeah.
Thanks. Another thing you made headlines for, and I guess we don't need to go too deeply into it, but you bought all of Jeff Hanneman, the late Jeff Hanneman's guitars.
Yeah.
From Slayer. I mean, nothing says fan and passion like that.
Tell you what, that's something that 17-year-old inside me never saw coming, and is now that 17-year-old inside me is doing backflips and still pinching himself that actually happened.
Do you play them? Are you self-conscious about playing those guitars?
There's when this whole thing started, unfortunately Jeff Hanneman passed away a few years back, and his widow had entertained the idea of auctioning a few guitars off at one time, and then did not want to decided, no, I'm not going to auction them, I'm going to pull them. She pulled all the guitars. I was alerted about these auctions, and I was like, I want to know why she pulled the auctions, and if she'd still be willing to sell them, I'll buy everything she's got. But I had to get a hold of her, and luckily for me, the president of ESP Guitars, Matt Massindaro, was really close to Jeff Hanneman. ESP Guitars made the Jeff Hanneman signature line models, a number of, urban camouflage, black colored, Jeff Hanneman signature model guitars. So he could get this guy Matt, the president of VSP, who's a really, really close friend of mine, old friend of mine, a mentor of sorts to me as well. I got a hold of him. I said, I'm interested in any of these guitars. If they're still available, just see if she'd entertain the thought of selling them to me. And, if there's anything else she wants to discuss. So Matt gets a hold of Catherine Hanneman, the widow, tells her all about me. She says, this sounds like a guy I want to talk to. Here's my number. I got the number from Matt. I called her. Catherine and I hit it off, had a great dialogue from the start. And she said, I pulled these auctions because I decided I didn't want, a guitar here and a guitar here of Jeff's and whatnot. Jeff was really passionate about being a guitarist and a riff writer. We all know that as Slayer fans, obviously. And he was very close to his instruments. And with respect to Jeff's spirit and with respect to my wishes, I'm talking in Catherine Hanneman's words, neither of us would want to see these guitars in a hard rock cafe hanging on a wall with a plaque. Hey, Jeff Hanneman's, Jackson guitar, or getting flipped, a couple years from now
which
on eBay.
For sure would happen.
And I said, okay, well, I can totally get that. I go, what do you want though? What do you want? What would you and Jeff? What do you think you'd wish to see happen with these guitars if someone like me were to buy the whole lot? She goes, well, Jeff would want these guitars played for the rest of their lives. Ideally, have basically Jeff was the one owner, and hypothetically you're the next owner. You're gonna have these till the day you die.
Yeah.
And you're going to enjoy the guitars, use them, because that's what Jeff would want, because he loved these instruments like they were his children. I said, Catherine, I can assure you, if you give me the opportunity to buy these guitars, I will play them. I will use them on an album. When I say play them, I'll play them. I'll write music with them in our home studio. I will perhaps break one out for a special festival. It's like, say, we do Download Fest in the UK,
Yep.
or we do Wacken, which is like, I don't know, 250,000 people in Germany. I would break out one of his most legendary guitars that everyone in the world could identify with, like his punk rock Jackson, and use it for an entire Broken Hope live set. I would do that. So she goes, all right, well, Matt Massindaro vouched for you, and he was really close to Jeff, and he's the guy, and I know Matt real well because he helped facilitate those auctions actually too. And after talking to you, I'm putting all my faith in you and believe in you, Jeremy, and I'll sell you these guitars. And what happened was, from there, I said, okay, I don't like to discuss, money. Everyone
Right.
always speculates shit. People know what the auction prices were, but what happened, James, is when I went out to the Hanneman house, which is like going to Mecca for me.
I bet.
You know what I mean? And Catherine, not only did I got the guitars she was going to auction, but I got many, many more of Jeff's guitars that were not on auction, including this legendary punk rock Jackson guitar that he had since South of Heaven album through every other album and tour, and everyone knows that guitar. I've got a stack of magazines 50 feet high that has that guitar in it. I'm not exaggerating or anything. Catherine, bless her heart, she let me also buy a number of Jeff Hanneman's personal Marshall heads, personal effects, and a lot of stuff. So, hell, you've been to my house, James. You see, it's almost like a mini Hanneman house. I'm almost like a mini Jeff. Jokingly, that's Catherine and I say, because Jeff was one of the chief songwriters for Slayer. I'm one of the chief songwriters for Broken Hope. Jeff wrote these sick-ass lyrics for Slayer. He influenced me as a lyricist as well, man. And I'm a writer, no matter what, horror author.
Yeah.
But writing lyrics, I've written all the lyrics for Broken Hope, and they're all horror-based, and I get great joy out of that as a writer. So Hanneman did all these things that I can relate to. But anyway, Catherine Hanneman, again, she was so awesome to me, and she let me get what I call a real Jeff Hanneman estate, which was all these things from, beer steins to guitars and everything in between that she would part with. And I'm never parting with any of that stuff, and I pay tribute to Jeff every day. Moreover, I've got these great prints of Jeff Hanneman from like Ross Halfin, the photographer, my friend Chad Lee, and others who took pictures of Jeff live and posed shots with some of the guitars I own. So there's Jeff Hanneman's spirit is all throughout my house, and again, every day I honor Jeff. And now let's go back to these guitars and what I'm doing. I'll tell you right now, I've written 3 new songs using Jeff's guitars.
That's fantastic.
I've set the guitars up to my tuning with new strings,
Yeah.
and the strings that were on the guitars I actually wound up in circles, taped together, and have framed them because Jeff was the last guy to play on those strings.
Wow.
Also, I won't clean the guitars because there's like Jeff's sweat stains are still on them, and flecks of fake blood from like the Rain in Blood anniversary,
Oh my God.
like when they'd have it rain down. Little flecks of the fake blood that his guitar techs didn't quite clean off.
That stays.
And all kinds of shit. Those stickers on the guitars, honest to God, if someone took one sticker off, I'd probably be in prison because
I bet.
I'm all about preservation too, not just honoring Jeff's
Well, you're
legacy.
a collector. One thing I know about you,
Yeah.
especially after walking through your house,
A conscious collector, though.
Yeah.
In a good way, Yeah.
you appreciate the value of what you acquire.
Right.
It's
Right.
You're not repurposing it. You're
Right.
having it to treasure.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it.
There's another thing about me, James, is I only collect shit that isn't shit, but unless you're talking to my wife, she thinks it's shit. But I collect things that really have deep meaning for me. I could go out and buy an Eric Clapton guitar, say, at a Sotheby's auction, or a Jimi Hendrix guitar, like that dude from Microsoft or whoever. He paid $900,000 for the Woodstock electric guitar Hendrix had. True story. You know, I could buy that shit as a collector or some mega fan and, you know, throw it in a closet, show all my friend, try to impress my friends, you know, when I have a dinner party. Hey, look, I got Jimi Hendrix's guitar. I could go out and buy that shit and whatnot, but I don't operate like that kind of collector. I bought Hanneman's guitars because I am talking to you today because you know of Broken Hope, our several albums, a couple DVDs in our history in death metal, because of Jeff Hanneman being one of my key inspirations to pick up a goddamn electric guitar. It was Jeff Hanneman, James Hetfield, Kirk Hammett were the first big three guys, not the big four, no pun intended. Those are the big three guys that got me off my ass to pick up an electric guitar and go, damn, this is what I want to do. Because I never heard fucking music like Ride the Lightning changed my life. It's still my favorite album to this day. Rain and Blood changed my life. It's still my favorite album to this day. So Jeff Hanneman, being in this place in my life where I could buy this estate and do right by Jeff, it goes deeper than being a collector. It's being a true fan, being a guitarist who loves Jeff Hanneman's body of work, what Jeff means to me. And also, these guitars are built to pretty much the exact same specs as my own guitars. You got to understand, the same body style, the same pickup models and configurations, the same you know, materials, like the wood in the guitars. Everything is dead on to what I would use. So that's another thing.
Cool.
You follow what I'm saying? Kurt Cobain, all right? Hey, Jeremy, you want to buy Kurt Cobain's guitar? No, because Kurt Cobain doesn't mean to me what Jeff Hanneman did. And Kurt Cobain, probably Nirvana outsold Slayer's whole catalog, you know, times 10. I don't care about that shit. Hanneman means everything to me. No disrespect to Cobain, but I'm not a Hard Rock Cafe. I'm not a fucking collector of, you know, rare antiquities from the world of music. It had a deeper meaning. It's a very rare situation.
Yeah.
Very unique, very compelling. And I'm doing right by Jeff. I'm doing right by his widow. I'm doing right by my heart. And there's not a day that goes by since I got this estate that I don't give thanks, that I don't show my gratitude to Jeff. And you know, the great thing is too, James, I'm not keeping this shit to myself. I'm sharing it with the world through the fact that I'm writing songs on the guitars, and I promised I would record the entire next Broken Hope album only using Hanneman's guitars. And that's for the world. That's for people, Slayer fans, Broken Hope fans, guitar geeks of any kind. You know, it's a cool story. I think it's, again, a unique thing I'm doing. And if an opportunity presents itself where I can, you know, play these live, I'm going to do it. So I've got them. I'll share them with the world. And again, keep that Hanneman torch burning. And that's where we're at, man. I'm just really, you'll swear to God, I'm just so grateful and trying to be humble about it. And I don't take this, you know, lightly or anything. You know, I take this very seriously, and the responsibility that I've offered the shoulder. When I say responsibility, that's the preservation of the guitars, using the guitars, and again, doing right by Jeff Hanneman. So
I think you are.
That's the whole story up till today.
Well, all right. So let's talk about what's next. So you're working on a new album. You're
what's next is I'm taking a bite of this fucking awesome taco right now.
Well, so this is my chance to talk, so you can eat. So you're talking about writing new songs using Hanneman's guitars. You're going to record a new album at home?
For the past, 5 years or so, I have a home recording studio that actually my wife had built before I ever met her. And she did an awesome job with whoever did the construction, made this beautiful recording studio.
Hang on. I think that's crazy. You married into a recording studio.
Almost, yeah. It was came with the package, man.
That's you done right.
She, my wife, she used to be play the piano. She was classically trained, but she doesn't play piano, which is a shame. She was I think maybe forced to do it when she was a little kid.
Sure.
But if you heard her play piano now, because she can still do it, it'll blow your fucking mind. I was like, I'm not into piano. This wasn't for me. I'm like, but you're so goddamn good. Whatever. That's her. My stepkids, they love music, and they both are both great guitarists, actually. And so they used to jam in that studio. Well, they still do, on and off. But that was like a place for them to go and have all this gear and stuff. So when I came into the picture, I had a Pro Tools LE, like light Pro Tools cheap program, and I brought that into the studio because there was really nothing in there to record with. Everything was set up like a control room and the big room and stuff, but no real recording gear. I brought all that in, and then I would record Broken Hope, new stuff, do live recordings when we'd write riffs and didn't want to forget them. All right, let's record this in the Pro Tools LE. So we did that, and that's how I wrote the last Broken Hope album, Omen of Disease.
Yep.
Doing it that way, just kind of live recording, demoing our own shit. This past year, I decided to get serious and really upgrade. I got this huge console. I got, the full-blown version of Pro Tools. I got all these preamps, amazing outboard gear, and
it's a righteous space.
Yeah, you've seen it yourself.
Yeah,
I have the best microphones that you can have. The studio I have now rivals, not to be arrogant by any means, but I'm just saying the studio that I built rivals any well-known studio you would go to for metal, whether you're in Slayer now or Amon Amarth or Cannibal Corpse, wherever those guys are recording. I got the same shit. I do have, fortunately, some really good friends of mine who are full-time studio engineers who will work with, or one training me right now with what I have, and they're going to help engineer the next Broken Hope album and whatnot. Another thing we're doing is back to Hanneman. I have Hanneman's guitar amps and stuff, so I'm going to dial in a Hanneman tone. Yeah. Then I have a rig built to a T with vintage Mesa Boogie gear that is an exact twin of James Hetfield's Master of Puppets rig. So I'm taking the Hetfield rig, Hanneman rig, my tone, my other guitar player's tones, he has a EVH, I think, and we're going to layer all this shit and by modeling all those tones and make one sick fucking tone.
So you're synthesizing old and new into something
Yeah,
Completely
something
different.
crushing.
I love it. I
Like
love
a
it.
mad scientist, dude.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting into all that. I'm learning a lot, and again, another thing I'm grateful for. I can't. I don't want to sound like a broken record, no pun intended, but I really try hard to always be humble and express how grateful I am for all these great things I have in life. Even if it's getting a guitar at a discount price, I'm grateful. So having this studio, which is a real luxury, is something I'm very grateful and thankful for, that I can have it. Because now I don't got to go to another studio and pay by the hour. You know, we can do all this. We're doing pre-production right now, James, which is very time consuming.
Sure it is.
But it's so awesome because we're, for like the first time in my career, I'm doing real pre-production and really fleshing out all these ideas. Again, like just modeling all these different rigs and tones is one thing. Working on harmonies. Our other guitar player, Matt Schlaka, really honing his leads, and Damien, our singer, working on vocal patterns. No rush, you know what I mean? We're not like, we wrote these songs, we demoed them, on our iPhone so we wouldn't forget them.
Yeah.
Here's the lyrics, slap it together. Oh, we got to be in the studio in May, and this is the budget we got, so which means we have to get it done in 5 days.
Right.
Not anymore, man. This is like,
That's a gift.
I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna sound bold and somewhat people might laugh it off. Hopefully, people will go, "Hey, that sounds badass," and it's this. I want this album, the next Broken Hope album, to be on a sonic level. I'm talking of, like, think of the greatest albums you know of, like, production wise. I'm talking, I want like the death metal version of Thriller.
That's amazing.
With
And
the,
why
with
wouldn't
the
you
sound,
shoot for that?
You understand?
Yeah.
I don't need to sound noisy and shitty to get the point across that we're brutal as fuck. We're gonna kill you with our music, and sonically, that's what I'm saying. On a production level,
Totally get it.
I want to rival what a major label band.
You want to set the standard for what
standard.
you do.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you?
And that's one mission I have with our next album. Because
And you have the time.
we have fans that buy albums, and I want them, this next one, when they listen to it on a CD, on vinyl, like your buddy Chris, or on their iPod, they will go, holy shit.
Yeah.
What this production is unlike any production on any death metal album we've ever heard in our effing life. That is a goal of mine. And to have all these ideas fleshed out ahead of time too is, I think, going to make for an even more stellar, more quality album. You know, you're going to get everything that Broken Hope has put every ounce of energy, blood, sweat, and tears in. Not to say that all the predecessors in our catalog, we didn't put the same amount of effort in, but the one difference is we didn't have a studio at our disposal to really be like a painter, like a Van Gogh, where we have our own personal space and we're putting layers of paint on, we're sketching and painting and making a finished piece of art. That's
There's
what
no
this
pressure.
album's
There's
gonna
no
be.
there's
There's
no
no
time
pressure,
restraint.
nothing like that.
You can create.
Right.
Unfettered.
Exactly.
That's it.
And again, with modeling all those guitar tones to make one monstrous, epic,
Love it.
sick guitar tone. I told you at my house, I've always been on a quest. I think I mentioned this to you. If not, I'll say it to the listeners. I've always been on a quest since day one, formerly Broken Home, to have the heaviest guitar sound I could have. And with each demo we did before we got signed, I'd get new amps, new gear, and dial in heavier and heavier sounds. Every Broken Hope album, different gear, whatnot. I've been using Fractal XFX 2 in my rig for a number of years now, and that so far has had the most crushing tone I've had. But since I built this Hanneman rig and this Hetfield rig, those with my own stamp on both, the guitar tones are sick as hell with those. I love my fractal tone. I love Matt, again, our other lead guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
His tone is sick, and I'm still on that mission. I want to take all this stuff now, do something I never did before, and again, layer it, weave it together, have one tone that'll just, like Dirty Harry would say, blow your head clean off.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Dude, I love what you're doing. And Broken Hope for me is a mood. It's a release. It's a feeling. Your guitar playing is, like
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You crush, you kill, you hurt, you maim, you dismember, you disembowel. Actually, disembowel is most appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't wait to hear, just listening to you talk and feeling the enthusiasm, feeling where your head's at with this. I can't wait to hear what you come out of the studio with.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, James. If you get my vibe just hanging out with me these past hours, you'll see I'm a real enthusiastic kind of guy. I'm enthusiastic about Broken Hope, of course. That's my baby. I'm enthusiastic about music. I'm enthusiastic about life. And I want listeners to get out of Broken Hope what you just said. I want them to get in a Broken Hope zone where when you hear Broken Hope, like with anyone's favorite bands or music that's special to you, it hits something and it makes you feel a certain way, even if it's aggression or whatever. It's still a positive thing, and I want to have a positive impact on anyone that listens to our stuff and have her, to people that appreciate what we do. I just want it to always be special, and I write it. When I write music, I write it for myself because I'm a fan, and all you listeners, who've heard me, run at the mouth here, I've made it pretty clear I am a music fan, and
Yep.
And when I write music, I write it for myself as a fan because part of the art, and it's like writing when I write fiction, James. When I get into a novel, the characters, the shit starts flowing. It's almost like I'm channeling something out of my fingertips to the keyboard, and the characters who I thought were pretty set in stone and going one way take on a life of their own, and I'm actually surprised. And when I write,
that's what makes it exciting.
That's what makes it exciting. What I love about writing, and what I love about writing riffs, is the same thing. I put on a guitar. It's like I'm channeling something somewhere else. Will literally have a riff or a melody in my head that I'm humming to myself, and I'll put on a guitar. Mike, our drummer, will get on drums, and I'll try to make that melody come out on my fretboard of my guitar, but then it'll turn into a whole new creature.
Love it.
And Mike and I will be like, holy shit, and it'll come out real fast. I told you at my house, and this is relevant to what I just said, one of my favorite bands of all time is 70s era Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yeah.
Everything they did up until the plane crash. I love that band. The guitar work, Ronnie Van Zant's lyrics, vocals, I just cherish that stuff. And Ronnie Van Zant, everyone knows the song Sweet Home Alabama. It's got one of the most memorable riffs and one of the most memorable songs you've ever heard. And when asked how they wrote that song and how quick they did, Ronnie said, well, Ed King, we were in the jam spot. It was called Hell House. They used to jam, and it was a real sweat box, like shack out in the woods. And Ed King just started that main riff. Dun, 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 dun.
Turn it
up. Everyone caught onto it. And he said, in not so many words, we had that song written in 3 minutes flat, and we've found with our stuff or any of the great songs of the world, most of the great songs in the world were written in minutes.
Sure.
And that's how it's been with writing riffs where I'm channeling it. The riffs take on a life of their own. You're in a vibe, a flow, and I'm telling you, man, especially with this new album, Mike and I have written so many songs just in one sitting. You know what I mean? So
it's a dangerous thing.
It's magic, man. It's magic.
It's a dangerous thing when you start overthinking your art.
It is.
Because you reach a point of diminishing returns real fast. I mean,
right.
To bring up Metallica again, look at the documentary, Some Kind of Monster.
Yeah.
They just forgot how to make music.
They thought too much. Too many cooks in the kitchen too.
Yeah.
In that I've never worked with a producer ever. I've always been. I'm not anti-producer, but we had the luxury. I use that word a lot when Brian Griffin was in our band, who now works for Lamb of God. Great guy, by the way. He still lives in Chicago, and he's a phenomenal guitarist, and he's a very talented engineer. He also does Lamb of God's sound and their tour management. And when he was in Broken Hope, he produced all of our albums.
Right.
So when I say we didn't work with a producer, we did, but he was a band member, and we always retained our vision and sound, And that's the one thing about producers. Again, I'm not anti-producer. Someday maybe I'll work with someone, but there is part of me, a little trepidation, where I'm like, I don't want you to fuck up the Broken Hope sound. Or,
you figured this out on your own.
Yeah, and I've been doing it since day one. The DIY attitude. And anyway, again, back to the music we write. I just want to always be meaningful to people that truly appreciate it. For those that don't get it or hate it, it's fine. Go listen to whatever you do. But Broken Hope, for the ears that care, I always hope it gives you a warm feeling. Again, whether it's if that warm feeling is aggressive and you want to punch cinder blocks with your fists, or it brings you back to some special experience, or you just get off on the extreme nature of what we do. That to me is like, all right, mission accomplished. But also, again, I don't want to keep reiterating the same thing, but as a fan, I also want to hear Broken Hope album and go, man, fuck, we did good on this one again, and I could listen to my own riffs, and I want to be able to play the riffs that I wrote as a fan live. I want what I do to also be a pleasant experience for me. That's why I write for myself and not trying to write to be popular or be this or that. You know what I'm saying.
Jeremy, you're awesome. CarConCarne.com is where you find more of this. Also on Twitter at CarConCarne. And if you like the show, if you tolerate the show, if you think it's okay, let a friend know. We're trying to spread the love in 2016. CarConCarne, thank you for listening. Broken Hope rocks.